These are the ROG XREAL R1 glasses. They cost $849. And the whole reason this product exists, the reason ASUS put ROG branding on a pair of glasses and priced them close to $1,000 is this one claim, 240 Hz. So here's the question I spent the last week actually testing. Is the 240 Hz claim real? Does the dock hold up? And is any of this worth the money compared to XREAL's own One Pro for $250 less? And the whole review really comes down to this one little asterisk. Let me show you what I found. Let's start with the R1 on its own terms. The easiest setup is direct USB-C from the ROG Xbox Ally X into the glasses. And that part was generally excellent. I plugged in, the screen appeared almost instantly, Windows recognized the display correctly at 1080p and 120 Hz, and F125 launched normally. That is a real positive. A product like this can have the best specs in the world, but if the setup is a nightmare, none of it matters. The display is good. Big, immersive, solid brightness, deep blacks, a genuinely large-feeling gaming screen. The dimming system gives you 3 levels. Level 1 is almost transparent, useful if you want to stay aware of your surroundings. Levels 2 and 3 both block the room out, and outdoors, level 3 gave me the cleanest, easiest to read image. Audio was a positive too. The Bose speakers sound solid, immersive, and I did not notice any delay. Comfort held up better than I expected. The R1 does not feel dramatically heavier than other XR glasses at first. After about 20 minutes, I noticed warmth around the nose bridge. It runs warm. But it did not keep escalating, and after 35 continuous minutes of use, I was not reaching to take them off. So, before we get into the 240 Hz question, the basic R1 experience is good. Easy setup, strong audio, usable dimming, other features are great, stable comfort, and a large gaming-friendly screen. The reason this costs $849 is supposed to be what comes next. Now, let's talk about 240 Hz. ASUS's own product page says, in the fine print, that frame rate boost achieves FHD 240 Hz through image scaling and that visual sharpness may be slightly reduced. Their FAQs add that the text can look slightly blurry due to image processing algorithms. So this is not just a clean, native quality 240 Hz mode like you might assume from the headline. It is a processed frame rate boost mode. I did not test it like a monitor benchmark. I tested it like a buyer question. Does frame rate boost actually make the gaming experience better? First finding, the Ally X was pushing 80 to 90 frames per second in F125, not 240. That is what real handheld gaming looks like. So when you turn on frame rate boost, the glasses are not showing you a 240 FPS source. They are processing a roughly 90 FPS signal and using it to create a smoother 240 Hz style experience. The glasses are doing the heavy lifting, not the handheld. In F125, frame rate boost did make motion look a little smoother. I could see it. Fast corners felt slightly more fluid. The text and HUD trade-off, the sharpness loss ASUS warns about, was smaller than I expected. Menu text and speed readouts looked maybe a touch softer in boost mode, but in actual gameplay, the difference in readability was very small. On responsiveness, where the steering felt more or less immediate, I could not reliably isolate a difference across repeated tests. If it is there, it is too subtle to bank on. One thing that technically minded viewers often ask about: does frame rate boost destabilize anchor mode, the spatial tracking that pins your screen in space when you move your head? In my testing, no. Anchor mode was stable in both modes, and I did not notice a meaningful difference between them. So, would I actually leave frame rate boost on? For most use, movies, general gaming, productivity, no. Native 120 Hz looks cleaner to me. For competitive gaming, racing, FPS, there is a genuine case for it if smoother motion matters more to you than pixel-perfect text sharpness. But it is not the transformation the headline number suggests. Frame rate boost is real, it is not fake, but it is not a reason by itself to spend $849. Which brings us to the other thing XREAL and ROG are using to justify the price premium, the ROG Control Dock. And there is a catch to this dock that can be frustrating. Let me save you a trip to the store. Direct USB-C into the glasses was almost frictionless. The dock was not, at first. To connect the ROG Xbox Ally X through the dock, I needed a USB-C to HDMI adapter, an HDMI cable, a USB-C cable to power the dock, and a USB-C cable from the dock to the glasses. The adapter was not in the box. I had to go to the store to get one. Once I had everything connected, the dock actually worked well. I had the ROG Xbox Ally X and the Nintendo Switch both connected, and after a few minutes of getting used to the controls, switching between them took about 2 seconds. That is genuinely useful. One thing worth knowing, when you use the dock through HDMI, the display controls move to the dock's buttons rather than the glasses themselves. That appears to be part of the R1 and ROG dock integration, not generic HDMI behavior. When I connected the One Pro to the same dock, the controls stayed on the glasses. The dock did not run hot. Interestingly, the glasses seemed to run slightly cooler through the dock than in direct USB-C mode. So here is the honest framing for the dock. This is not a portable travel accessory. The cable setup makes that impractical. This is a dedicated gaming station hub. Ally X, Switch, console, PC, all wired into one place, one button to switch. If that matches how you game, the dock has real value. If you mostly want a clean handheld or travel setup, direct USB-C is better and the dock probably does not add much. Now the comparison that actually decides the value question. This is the XREAL One Pro, $600, $250 less than the R1, and it shares a very similar core display foundation. Same 1080p class, same 57 degrees field of view, same 171-inch virtual screen class, same Bose audio, native 3D OF, and electrochromic dimming. I tested both side by side. Same ROG Xbox Ally X, same game, same content, same native 120Hz. At native 120Hz, the gaming experience felt basically the same. In F125, I had a hard time telling them apart in motion feel, HUD readability, and steering feel. Center sharpness was basically identical. Edge clarity was very similar. Anchor mode and follow mode felt close to identical. The R1 did not feel meaningfully better for gaming at 120Hz. And then the One Pro started winning in the everyday categories. The One Pro looked slightly brighter in both F125 and YouTube. For movies, YouTube, and text-heavy productivity use, the image felt slightly cleaner and sharper on the One Pro. This was consistent across multiple tests, not a fluke. Comfort also leaned One Pro. The One Pro felt lighter than the R1, and that difference was noticeable over a longer session. It also seemed to run slightly cooler. The dimming system was better on the One Pro. On the R1, levels 2 and 3 felt very close together. Not much practical range between them. On the One Pro, the 3 dimming levels felt more evenly spread out, and all 3 were genuinely useful. Audio was a draw. Maybe a slight One Pro edge, but not enough to call. The R1 does have real advantages. The UI is more sophisticated and gaming-oriented. Brightness shown numerically, menus that feel purposeful for gaming, etc. The lights on the arms are a cool aesthetic touch for the right buyer. But at 120Hz, the R1 is not a better all-round pair of glasses than the One Pro. It is a more gaming-specific version of a very similar core experience. So let me answer the question directly. If you already own the XREAL One Pro, I would not upgrade to the R1 just because it exists. The core screen experience is too similar to justify the cost. If the dock is specifically what you want, and you do not already own the One Pro, the R1 makes sense as a complete gaming station setup. And if you are waiting to see whether ROG or XREAL sells the dock separately, or if it shows up on the secondary market, that is a reasonable position too. Just don't assume the dock gives the One Pro the same fully integrated experience as the R1. Here is my final verdict based on who you actually are. The ROG XREAL R1 is a good product. Easy setup, solid display, a dock that actually works once configured, and frame rate boost that delivers a small but real improvement for fast gaming. But it is not a universal upgrade over the One Pro. It is a more expensive, more gaming-specific version of a very similar core experience. For most people watching this, the One Pro is the smarter buy. The R1 is for one specific buyer, a serious gamer with multiple devices who wants everything wired into one hub and who wants the ROG gaming ecosystem to go with it. If that is you, the R1 delivers. If it is not, save the money. That is my honest take. No sponsor, no brand script, just a week of real testing. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.